I want a Norwegian's take on Troll. Now, I reviewed this earlier, but I just want your review, Andre, of Troll. So sock it to me.
Yeah, sure. I like the movie. I think it's really really cool. I never in my life thought I would see a Norwegian kaiju movie because that's what this is. And of course, it had to come from director Roar Uthaug. He's the same guy who did The Wave, which was Norway's first disaster movie. And I submit one of the best disaster movies ever made anywhere, for that matter. He also did the recent Tomb Raider remake, which wasn't all that great, to be honest. But now he's back on Norwegian soil, and he's made a very, very Norwegian tale. And I think he did a tremendous job at it. Do I absolutely love the movies, like the best movie ever? No, but it's a very entertaining movie. I think most people will find it entertaining regardless. But as a Norwegian, like knowing our culture, knowing all these, like I've been all the places we see in the movie. It's amazingly shot, looks fantastic. Love the Norwegian landscapes, love the cityscapes. Fun seeing my native language in like a big budget production and stuff. That doesn't happen too often. Seeing the locations that I drive by every single day because I live in Oslo. So yeah, all of that is pretty cool. But the best thing I thought is like the really cool thing that they did with the troll mythology, and they found a way to make a new story, but one that kind of works and that fits very well with the mythology as we have it, with history, with popular culture, with our fairy tales, which are referenced right here, with the artwork. The artwork you see in the movie, that's from Theodor Kittelsen. That's artwork from the 19th century. Like all the traditional troll imagery, that's the guy who did it. And also the location, the central location where the troll breaks out from, Dovrefjell, the mountain of Dovre. I mean, that is significant as well, because the Dovre mountain is really special in Norwegian culture and everything. I mean, it's even linked to our constitution and everything, stuff like that. A typical saying in Norway is when you want to remain true to something, when it's a cause that you believe in, then you are with it until the Dovre mountain falls, which basically means till the end of time. And this song by Grieg, which is also referenced, that you hear throughout the movie in the end credits and everything like that. That song is called The Hall of the Mountain King. That's the original title, no, sorry, the English title. The Norwegian title of it is basically the Hall of the Mountain of Dovre. So right there, you kind of have the setup for this movie. So the title of that song and the play that it was made from has obviously informed this whole movie. And that is what I think is so impressive here, because the story here, was made up by the director, but it fits seamlessly with the music that we have, with the fairy tales we have, with the imagery we have. It all just works brilliantly. So I was really impressed with how they did it. I'd be curious to hear what you thought about it, Nate, and also to answer any of your questions, because I submit that the movie is going to be entertaining to everyone, but there's going to be so many more layers to it, to a Norwegian that knows this stuff. So I'm happy to have a conversation and answer those questions. And
Well,
I can begin with every single location, including the Troll theme park, is real. That's a real place. I love being there,
that's
by the way.
awesome. First,
When you
first,
come to Norway,
first
so I'm going to take you there.
Yeah, I'd like to go. That'd be good. That'd be good laugh, definitely. My first question: did you spot the Greta reference?
Yes, of course, of course. This
I
is one
really
of the
like the
things that I
fact.
that I liked about this movie, because you think it's going to be like this whole environmental theme and everything like that, but no, they
They took the
basically
piss out of it.
they stick it to Greta Thunberg right away. It was like, oh, an environmental thing. Oh, let's give Greta Thunberg a call, shall we? So yeah,
I
I'm glad
really
you
liked
caught that.
that.
Yeah.
I instantly I was on it. I was like, that's great. Love
So
it.
this is
Instantly got it.
great. It's diverse because Norway has become a diverse country, but it's an anti-woke movie because it has none of that messaging other than the obvious one. To the extent of which there is anything, it's preserve Dovrefjell, which is kind of like happening anyway because it's a national park. But a few years ago, there was
Ah.
someone who wanted to drill into the mountain to save other countries' nuclear waste there, which didn't happen, but someone wanted that.
Jesus. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not good. Well, so I mean, my questions on the conversation more specifically is based around. So I presume, like I googled afterwards anyway, because it's not something I was aware of. But there is a king of Norway, isn't there? Or there
Yes,
has
there is a
been.
king of Norway.
Yeah.
King Harald
What
is the
what
king.
did you think of the portrayal of the king of Norway in the
That
film?
wasn't the king. We did not see the king. The guy that you saw, he was a
Oh, is that not the king?
representative of
Ah,
the
goodness sakes!
crown.
Right.
He was basically the Sir Humphrey of the king, if you will.
Ah, my bad. My
Yeah.
bad. It must have been lost
So
ever so. I watched it with the subtitles, so
yeah,
because I wanted
good.
to.
That's the way to see it.
Yeah. So from a Norwegian's perspective, hearing them act and obviously speak in Norwegian, do you think that they were good actors? Because from my perspective, watching it as a non-Norwegian speaker, I'm watching this and I'm like, it's bloody good. Like the inflection seems there. Obviously, I can only take so much from it because when we talk about how people speak and things like that, and they act, a lot of it is you have to be very familiar with the tongue, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was really good, but your thoughts on the acting?
Well, before that, I just want to say that we have like some interesting examples in Norway because we have a number of productions which
Mm.
are filmed first in Norwegian, and then they film an English language version of it as well. This was done with a movie back in the 90s, co-starring Gabriel Byrne, actually. I wish they would
Oh.
preserve that movie better, where they first made the Norwegian language version, and after they
Mm.
filmed the scene in Norwegian, they filmed the exact same scene again in English. So you basically have
That's
two
me.
versions of the movie, Norwegian and English. It's like the same thing with a number of TV series.
Mm.
Most recently, the one that on Netflix is known as Norsemen. I highly recommend that series, Mr. H. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. It's
Yeah,
the
I'll
same
have to
thing
check
with
that out.
that, because that's a series where they first filmed the Norwegian language version, and then they filmed an English language version. So, like, first they shoot each scene in Norwegian, then instead of doing yet another take, now it's like switch
Mm.
to English, so we do it in English. And
Mm.
what's funny with those things is that the Norwegian version is always superior because then
Mm.
the actors don't have to struggle with the language or something, so the acting comes through better.
Mm.
In this case, the one that really stood out to me was the lead actress. I thought that she was really, really good. She sold it completely. There's no doubt why she was the lead.
Mm.
Some of the others, they were all good, but at some times I was very aware that I was watching acting again because of the afflictions and stuff like that, right? So
Mm.
some of the people there, it was very obviously acting. I would say that the worst one was actually this personal secretary of the king. This is the one that stood out to me the most as, oh, you're acting, like you're taking a really Shakespearean take
Oh.
to this, where the lines just seemed rehearsed and not
Mm.
natural or anything. So that guy, I don't know him. I
Okay.
don't know the actor.
Over dramatic, sort of
Yeah, that was,
over
yes,
emphasis. Right. Okay.
exactly. Overemphasis.
Mm.
And other times, like some were like a little bit like forced jovial and like forced.
Mm.
You can like tell it's a little bit stilted here and there. So like it's not
Yep.
it
Yeah.
it takes you out a little bit sometimes. Overall, really good, but the only one that was really amazing throughout was the lead actress. I forget her name right now, but she was the one that was spotless
I thought
throughout.
she was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else, they were good overall, but there were like times where like now I know I'm watching acting.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's always one to ask when it's it's non-native for me. Like
Yeah.
it's one which I always like to ask because I'm like, well, I don't know, but it seemed okay for me.
And also
Um,
the female prime minister, she was also amazing, Anniken von der Lippe. She was
mm,
really, really good throughout. And same with this minister of defense. He was the guy who made the Greta Thunberg joke. He's so awesome. He plays a very similar character in most of his movies or
mm,
series for that matter, but again, completely realistic. And
yeah.
that stupid, incompetent prime minister. Uh, as I was watching it, I was like thinking, "Boy, you make Norwegians look so stupid and so incompetent throughout here." But when I look at our real authorities, yeah, it's probably exactly what would have
so,
happened in this
so,
scenario. So
so
yeah,
the director was putting true to life on the screen then, basically.
yes, very much so.
What did you think of? So I mean, you said about the fairy tale and folklore and aspect like that. I I want to get into that because I loved that.
Yeah,
Like
go for. I love it
I
too. I
I
loved it.
really really loved what they did with this. The whole impetus and the whole reason for the troll heading in a certain direction. I thought that was fantastic.
I
What a
agree. That
great
was brilliant.
reveal.
That made the
That was,
whole movie for me. And again, it ties back to, as I said,
mm,
that song and the play it's
mm,
from, the Hall of the Mountain King. Because there
yeah.
you have it in the title, right? That this is the king of the mountain, but it's a king that's displaced. It's a
Mm,
king that is locked up
yeah,
in
yeah.
Dovre, and the king wants to return to his true home. And also, this was something brilliant because spoiler alert. I don't want to spoil it, but can I spoil it? Do you want to go with this or?
Oh, so how big a spoiler are we talking about?
No, we're talking about like the. I would probably
Oh, the
not.
very
I
end.
would just, yeah. I will just
Eh,
say that there is so much. There is so much precedence in in uh, in megalithic sites all over the world that you
mm,
have a site that was holy to begin with, and on that site, that's where you first build a monument, and then you
yeah, yeah.
replace it with a different monument. Like for instance, Stonehenge.
Mm,
Stonehenge is but the latest iteration. Before Stonehenge, it was Woodhenge, and before
mm,
Woodhenge, it was probably Stickhenge. It was like a sacred location long before it became what it was. And I'm not going to go into more spoilers than that, but again, it only goes to show that they did some real research into folklore, mythology, sacred places, and everything like that to
mm.
build up to that twist.
Yeah,
I
I
believe I can
thought
say that much.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think the music to me was superb and it made me
Yes.
feel all the emotions. I was sad at the end of this film. I was genuinely sad. I was like, oh no, sad. I don't want to get into too much, obviously, but it it's seldom nowadays that a score is so good as another character to the movie that makes you feel all the variety of emotions. But I think they did such a good job, and I've been trying to find the budget. I can't find the budget to this, but to me, they nailed the aesthetic of the troll, and the
Oh, completely.
CG is absolutely superb because
Yeah.
the CG itself, it's whether it's the CG, the rendering, or the color grading parts of the CG, whatever it is, it's a design choice, and it doesn't look out of place. Like if you're watching the troll in the backdrop to the mountains and stuff, it's uncanny valley. It's a giant troll, but it's not uncanny valley to the perspective of I'm looking at garbage CG. I think they did such a good job with that,
You
and
can
even
just look at the scene where the troll is kind of blends in with nature, because then you can
mm,
see exactly the environment that this troll has evolved into, and there's the natural camouflage, and there
Yeah.
in that environment, I buy it completely.
Really like the
I
fact that the
mean,
troll has a tail
this
as
is a
well.
Norwegian, very specifically Norwegian mythological
Mm.
creature from this landscape, from this area.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like the fact that it had a tail. I thought that was great. That was a nice touch. I really like I don't know. I just had such a good time with this film. Like it's the for a Netflix movie, they did. Oh, this has been handled way outside of Netflix, I reckon, and then it's been Netflix bought it. That's what I
Actually,
reckon.
this is Netflix from the ground up, and there is some
You're
precedent for this
shitting me. But the
because
pacing's great. Normally Netflix movies are terrible on pacing because
yeah,
the
but
editors suck.
Netflix they have some kind of relation to
Wow.
Norwegian creators because you know what the very first original Netflix series was, the very first they made.
No,
That
no
was a
idea.
Norwegian series, Lillehammer, again, which I also
Oh.
highly recommend. Now, in the case of Lillehammer, there they found a series which was already in development
Hmm.
for Norwegian national TV. Exactly how that happened, I do not know. But they found this thing which was already in development somehow. And then they decided, hey, this is a really, really cool idea. What if we make this thing about a gangster that has to go undercover in witness protection? How
Hmm.
about instead of we making this another Norwegian gangster from the center of Oslo who suddenly has to go in hiding in rural Norway? How about we make it one of the cast from The Sopranos? And that's what they did. They got the Sopranos character.
Don't
So,
know.
like, unofficially, it's the character from the Sopranos that goes into witness protection in Lilyhammer, Norway.
Hmm.
And that's the first Netflix original series. It's still on Netflix. Again, highly recommend that too.
What did you think? So visual effects wise, right? What did you think? 'Cause I thought this was really well done. Again, and the visual effects in this were great. So the house that gets smashed through actually just built a house. Amazing. Normally, just be composited in as a CGI element. Just built a house in the middle of nowhere. I'm presuming. I mean, you're from Norway, right? You can tell me if
Well, we
it's not.
have houses like that. We even have like a
Hmm.
series on state channels that dedicated to houses in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm. But what I mean is,
So
obviously,
yeah, we have
you know,
houses like this, and they do look like that. So
what smashed
so
up.
yeah, if I didn't know any better, I would think that they just went and bought the house from someone that were moving there anyway, and just ran over with demolishing equipment and filmed it.
Hmm.
That would be my best guess. Easiest
Yeah,
way
I
to do it.
I think it did so well with that. And then when the troll is coming through to Oslo, and there's all the rubble and stuff hitting the tarmac, that to me was so very well done. Just because when when you're trying to do CGI damage on things, that can really look shit. Like it can really look bad. But that stood out to me as something which just blended in seamlessly. The whole thing was it's just such a well put together thing. And do you want another one? Basically, is my other question.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. It is kind of set up that where there's one, there can be another. So yeah,
Yeah.
bring on the
Wh-
sequel.
Where
I hope there
where
will
would
be
you
one.
go with the sequel then?
Um,
Because
well, now
we can't
you're going to have a
reveal too
pissed
much,
off
can
and
we?
lonely troll that's going to come out and look for daddy. That's yeah,
Mm. I like
look
this
for
film
the old
so very
man.
much. What a
Yeah.
great film! What a great film! I don't know if
So
you've seen this, Nick. Did you watch this film? Did you get a
I
chance?
did. I did watch it.
And what are your thoughts, real quick?
I surprisingly liked it.
You did
I,
like it.
yeah, I was like,
did you
Netflix
watch the
movie.
dubbed version or the original language with
Oh,
subtitles the way
All
you're
right,
supposed to?
so I watched the dubbed version.
Oh,
Uh,
get out of here,
so
you heathen!
the thing is, if there was original one, I didn't know that you could switch to that.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
you just go into the Netflix settings and you choose original
Ah.
language.
okay. See, I didn't know that. Like I found the
Right.
movie and I just hit play
Yeah,
on it.
because there's like the thing that Netflix has actually had to do this with another one of their productions recently, where I don't recall which one it was, where they actually had to go out and said, we recommend that you switch the setting for this to watch with the original language. And it's like the same thing here. You just have to like press down on your remote and to just go and choose from English dub to original language with the English subtitles.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But I did
Because
notice
you're in the States, everything automatically, this is the default thing, comes up with the US dub on it.
oh, okay.
Which is unfortunate. It's like I don't know how the dub is. I just know that you'll be losing those. Like for instance, are they going to keep the Greta Thunberg dig in the
I love
US
that.
version? I don't know.
They did.
Okay, good.
Oh, so
Yep.
good. So
Yeah,
good.
they did. And I did notice that the dig team, because I could tell when it was dubbed, because obviously the lips don't perfectly match up, but the dig team was actually speaking English.
Yes, they were. They
Yeah,
were
they
an
were at the
American
start,
expedition.
Yeah. So on the Norwegian version, was it dubbed Norwegian
No,
or
we
were
don't
they
dub.
okay? So they were actually speaking English
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
section of the movie.
If
Okay,
you
gotcha.
just go back to Netflix and just
Mhm.
switch to original version, and you'll see that there you have the original version in which the American people at the dig, they speak English,
Okay,
and the
yeah.
Norwegian lady doing the dig, she speaks American with them.
Mhm.
Because she knows these are my friends from the States and they obviously don't speak Norwegian. So she'll be speaking English with an accent with them. Of course, when she finds something and she expresses her joy, then she reverts back to her native Norwegian, which again, I just think is like brilliant. It's like one of those little things that you lose in a dubbed version that you only get when you have like an original version where you have like where they do speak English, for instance. This tiny little thing, but it's so important that here she is so happy, she's so excited, even though she speaks English as her job language with her American colleagues. In that one moment, she reverts to Norwegian, and then it's back to English.
Okay. Yeah, I did have I agree with Mr. H. Sad at the ending, and the CGI on this was excellent. I thought they did such a good job. The cinematography in this I thought was very well done.
Wasn't the framing good?
Yes, very very good. Um, one thing I didn't realize that Norway had F-35s.
Yeah, we do. We do have F-35s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
But
did
I
not.
don't know how much taxpayer, how much of my tax money has been wasted on that. But yeah, we do. And this is like one thing that I kind of liked about the movie, that here you have like one geek that's able to go and hack these
I
bloody
like
things.
that. How hard
Mhm.
could it be? No, I meant
Yeah.
how hard can it be?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we do have a small fleet of very very expensive F-35s,
Yeah, those things are not
and we
cheap.
have the Americans' eternal gratitude for taking our part of the bill in those disasters that can't even do dogfights.
Yeah, yeah. My
Oh,
brother
yeah.
is stationed in Alaska, and that's what he works on is the F-35s.
Yeah,
So
and that was another thing. The implication that they were going to nuke Oslo. I thought that was like yeah. Because
yeah,
That was pretty
that was
big.
the implication. They didn't say
Yeah.
the name of the weapon, but the implication was that this is a nuke, because
Yeah.
otherwise you
Planet.
wouldn't have to evacuate Oslo and surrounding areas, because the
Yeah.
only weapon that is big enough to the word that you have to evacuate all of Oslo plus surrounding areas is a nuke.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then we're talking a big one. Now we're talking like a Castle Bravo sized nuke, because the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, they would only destroy downtown Oslo. They wouldn't do any more than that. but to flatten the whole city and to surrounding areas, which is where I live, and we're talking a real fucking nuke.
Yeah,
Mm.
that was the
That
other
would
thing.
just make the troll into Godzilla anyway.
Yeah, probably.
that was the other thing. I did not know Norway had nukes. Is that true?
Officially, we don't.
Okay.
Officially, and this was also you had like the minister in defense saying that this PM this technically isn't approved, but we have them, and this is
Yeah, I like
something
that.
I absolutely
That would make sense.
would believe to be the case. Like for instance, like this sabotage of the Nord Stream line that blew up. I would not be surprised if
it was
Norway had a hand in that. Would not be surprised at all. We do have our black ops.
So not to get too off topic, I think when I watched this was a movie that I'm watching, and I'm legitimately going, I would have loved to have watched this on a big screen.
Oh,
and
God,
I
that would have
genuinely think it would have held up.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah, Andre, would you have liked to have seen this on the big screen?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have. It's a bit of a shame, and that's how you know that this actually is a pure Netflix production, because it got
I think that's where Netflix is
even in Norway.
They're shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, because a lot of people were saying the same thing about the Glass Onion situation. Because they're like, oh, they're going to bring it back out after it's on Netflix. Well, I think at that point, nobody's going to care. I wonder if it's going to be. I don't know if it'll be too much longer before Netflix will start deciding to, you know what, we're going to have to do some limited theatrical releases with some of these films, because they ain't got the income they used to either. And, things like The Irishman and a few other ones that they threw right on Netflix that could have done probably pretty well in theaters.
I agree. This one, at the very least, should have had like a theatrical release in Norway, if nothing else, and a limited run in the US and the UK. I do think it's a waste that this goes straight to Netflix, because this would have looked amazing on the big screen with the visuals, with the sound. There was just like one song that I was missing in the movie, which again I would only know because I'm Norwegian. We have like a hymn, a sad song, which is associated with trolls, and that one, if it was in the movie, I didn't catch it, but that's one that should have been featured more prominently in that case. So yeah, but other than that, great music, great score, great sound design, great visually. A shame not to see this in theaters.